Good morning, everybody. The music's still going? All right, thank you. Good morning, day 3, session 2, I think, right? Hope everybody's doing great. My name is Dennis, I'm the session host for today. Next to me I have Ben Toms. He's our principal software engineer here at Jamf, and he's talking about P for packages.
Yep, thank you very much.
To you.
Okay, morning everybody. So before we start, a couple of things to go through. I'm sure you've seen this once or twice this week, but there's nothing I want to mention. This isn't a weird Wilson setup. I'm not going to start talking to it. Unfortunately, I've got long COVID. I had COVID in 2022. It affects my language processing when it's bad. I've got chronic cluster headaches, chronic migraines. So this is really me telling you, well, I actually telling myself, I might have to pause every now and then and I'll get a bit of a stammer, which you can see is trying to come through now. But 5 minutes time I might completely stop. So I know you folks won't mind, but I need to remind myself that I might need to just pause a little bit. And if you've known me and met me and spoke to me a few times, me not talking is a very difficult thing as well. So we'll see what happens. So today's talk is P is for packages. Like Dennis said, I am Ben Toms. I've been around Jamf since about 2007, 2008. Joined Jamf in 2023 via DataJar, and you folks might know me online as MacMule as well. And also, funnily enough, that's what they put down my name in the session, on my badge, everything, so that's quite funny and cool. So, yeah, this talk's P is for packages. I originally gave a version of this talk at Macaduk earlier in the year, which is a conference in Brighton, the south coast of England. And the gimmick was, well, I thought I had A is for apple, B is for banana, those kind of things you have in nursery. And I had a whole set of slide decks generated with AI prompts in that type of format. But for this one, we moved to the company slides, and there are some changes in here that are Jamf specific. So being as it's a Jamf conference and everything, makes a lot more sense. So what we're going to go through, hopefully that QR code works. I've got a terrible record of them, so, so hopefully it does. We're going to go through what is a package, inspecting packages, creating packages, installing packages, uninstalling packages, and also one of the additional sections for this is tracking package installs. And I probably should have mentioned that we're also going to show that at the end, so you didn't need to all take it, but is it working? Cool, brilliant, right, that's one thing done. So, what is a package? Well, on macOS, we have several bundles. They could be application bundles, they might be files that have got multiple elements within them, kernel extensions, there's just a number that we have there, settings panes, etc. as well. And normally, you would know it's a bundle because you can right-click the object and it says in there, show package contents. So, when we get to packages, we used to be able to do that as well, but now we can't. So what's going on there? Well, there's a few third-party apps and stuff I'm going to talk about as well, but these sticks here, this is going back years as well, said that every macOS installer looks the same, every installer package looks the same. And this is kind of an interesting thing for us to try and figure out what they are, what they're doing as well. And you know, this is true as well. So on here, we've also got not just the package, we've got the package format, so you can have a package that looks the same as another package, but the format of the package is different than the other package. So it is a bit convoluted, and the wording from Apple isn't very straight on this either. So I'm going to try and demystify some of it, but also it gets to a point where really you kind of don't have to worry about it too much. What you would have seen though, with macOS Sonoma, you would have seen a prompt like this if you tried to install a non-flat package, so the one that we could right-click on. And then with Sequoia, you could no longer run those packages at all. If you've been using Jamf Pro for like decades, this is from like 2013, I believe. If anybody else remembers this migrate thing with Casper Admin. There you go, at least one of us. So the reason I bring this up, if you're worried about those packages that won't install, if you look at your distribution point and you've got a package that's pkg.zip, then what's happened there is that it's been encased in a zip file by Jamf Pro, basically, and it says it just on that document there. This might just be like, you know, no issues for you guys at all, but I just wanted to call it out. One of the last more widely used packages was actually from Adobe. And then in June 2023, they announced you can get flat packages from their console. So if there's going to be anybody's package that you might have on your repos that potentially is non-flat, it'll be Adobe. And like I say, for the no, N-1 OS is for macOS, those packages won't run, so you want to rebuild them if you need to, if you want to deploy them still. But Flat packages aren't a new thing. Again, this comes from via another vendor whose product we'll look at later. Back in December 2008, they had some documentation on here, and the one tagline here, which kind of fits us very much now, is the world is flat, deal with it. So that's where we should be now. But what is a package? So Apple advise that it's sort of package which protects all files and folders, so it's a nicely signed item, and they just click on it, your end users click on it, and they get taken through steps to do the install. I kind of summarize it a little bit like this. A package is a flat file that installs items on a Mac. The package can be signed and notarized and can run code pre or post install of the product, which is succinct, I guess, and glamorous or whatever. But I know I'm still probably aren't really helping you folks with it. I know a lot of you, like myself, are going to be quite visual learners. So we're going to look at how we can expect packages to hopefully give us more information on how a package is set up. We're going to look at 4 different tools, and we're going to do this through different sections as well. We're going to look at macOS native tools, Composer, we've got Pacifist there, and suspicious package as well. So if we look at the inbuilt binaries for macOS, so the first thing we've got pkgutil. Now, pkgutil is a tool that's to query and manipulate macOS installer packages and receipts. What does this mean? Well, we can take the package that we had earlier, or a package, and then expand the content. So this takes the package and it puts the content into a folder so that you can then review the content. And within here, we've got several different items. So first of all, we've got the distribution file. This contains various metadata, such as what architecture the installer could be run on, versioning information, packages inside that as well. You can see on there, that's saying that this package can run on Intel and ARM. And at the bottom there, what's the size of the thing that's being installed, what's the versioning number for that as well. We're going to skip the payload for now and look at the info plist. So this has got more information as well about the package itself. You've kind of got data about the payload content and then the outer package itself. But again, we're going to have versioning numbers in here as well, bundle identifiers, type of things that you would have seen across macOS with any type of bundle as well. But so this is all great information that we can use later on in various ways. And there's the version again. So now we've got the payload. Cool, we can click it and launch it, it's a PKG. So if PKG shaped, why not PKG? This is another one of those things that, like we said at the beginning, a package is a package, but they're a different package, but they look like a package. So for whatever reason, we are here. So in this case, like I say, we can't open up the package itself, but luckily enough, you can actually right-click it and show package contents. So this is why it gets a bit confusing sometimes, but maybe it's easier just to call it a package and forget about some of this madness. Within the package itself, we've got several files. The first one there is a bill of materials. You can kind of think of that as your grocery list. You know, you go to groceries, you've got to buy your groceries so then you can do the thing. So the bill of materials are the materials you need to then do like the installs, etc. It's not readable though, if you try and do it yourself. But luckily, we've got another binary on macOS that we can use, lsbom, which will list the contents of a BOM file. And a little example here would be that for the expanded package that we expanded earlier, that package that we clicked on we couldn't get into, we can just run this command against that. And what you should then get is a list of all the items that the package will install on disk, basically. I mean, obviously there's some path stuff there you'll need to adjust, but this gives you a great idea of where this stuff's going to be installing items. And next we've got the package info file. Very similar to what we saw before. This is where the bundle identifier came through, surfaced into the other metadata. Again, you've got the install bytes on there, you've got the number of files in there, and you've also got a note on what scripts to run pre-install and post-install. Now, the payload itself is much larger than the rest, and if we look into that, it starts off more structured data that is humanly readable, and then goes down to the encrypted stuff later on. So it's sort of useless in that form there. But we can now use another command line binary, tar, to export that content and actually be able to view it itself as well. So again, the simple command there for the payload, and again, this is the package that we expanded earlier. and another view of seeing what the files are. There's just a few different ways of doing this, but you can see that these various different command line tools and stuff can surface the same data. So it's very flexible. If you need to do certain things, you might find one tool is good enough to do everything versus another. And lastly, we have the optional scripts. They are quite simple, just bash scripts. You can do other languages as well. There are some variables that you automatically get for free when you do the install, when you run one of these scripts. So the path to the script, the path to the package, target location, which is normally like /, and the volume is often normally / as well, but you might have other options there. But you get these for free, and you bash scripters $0 to $3. So we're going to have a quick look at Composer now, which some of us should be familiar with. When you load up Composer, you normally get greeted by the snapshot screen. If you click Cancel, and you then got the section on the sidebar on the left. So the packages side there, you should be able to grab a package and drag it under that section. It will then appear like this, and bottom right, we've now got a button there that says Convert to Source. This will take a little while to go through, and obviously the size of the package, the longer this is going to take. And if you do have on-access scanning, on-device scanning, and EDR solutions, that can also slow this down because you're unpacking potentially gigabytes of data. But on here, Composer will actually give you a graphical view of where the item is to be installed. We've got the pre-install, post-install script in there. The info P list, some of the metadata we looked at as well. So this again gives us another example of how we can read the package data or get an idea of what constitutes the package itself. Now, we've looked at the top two. The issue with the top two, when you compare it to these other two, is the fact that you need to take the package, expand it, etc. So you're using up a lot more disk space, and it takes a lot longer to get access to the contents. If we look at Pacifist, it's a shareware app. Screen loads, you choose the package that you want to load, and what you'll see is the content of the package will be there almost like in seconds. You don't have to do any expanding, etc. It's going to be using some of those binary tools or APIs to extract the data. But again, you've got a graphical view of what's in the package, what's going to be installed, etc. And it gives you more of that, where the metadata files are, etc. as well. And if you click on any of the items in there, you can right-click and then extract them. So you don't have to expand the whole payload, but you can grab an application. I've actually used this quite a lot when we're looking at things to add to Jamf Auto Update, and we might just export the info P list without having to worry about installing the app itself and try and build out what we need and then try the automation as well. And then when the package resources, again, it's a similar view, but it's a bit more broke down to actually, if you looked at it in Finder earlier, to show you where the scripts are, etc., in the layout. So there's multiple tools, again, that show you the same thing. I just wanted to show you so you can pick your own journey on this. And finally, this is my favorite one, and I think a lot of you folks are probably using this as well, Suspicious Package. Again, it's a similar product to Pacifist, so it's going to work the same. You load it up, you choose a package. And that gives you a great overview to start off with here. So first of all, it tells you if the package has already been installed on the Mac that you're running on, and that'll tell you when it was installed as well. The items, the amount of items, the item size, if it's signed, if it runs scripts, what OS it requires, etc. There's lots of information there just in the initial first view. And again, this is like within seconds of you loading the package into a Suspicious Package. Okay, and once again, we've got like a graphical view under all files, which is where the item should be installed on disk post-install. And again, we can right-click and then from there export the items to view them elsewhere. It has the scripts as well. You actually read the body of the scripts in there. Again, you can export them, do as you need to. And lastly, we've got the receipts in there. Now, receipts is something that is really helpful for us when installing software. We're going to look at it at tracking later on. But you can see here, this is the bundle ID that we spoke about earlier, is the actual receipt name at the top, and what version we're installing, and when it was actually installed. So that was kind of just a quick overview of those. Every section we're going to do something similar to that, with the idea that you folks might have enough interest in jump and have a look at the tools yourself. There's obviously so much more I can talk to you about them, but we're not going to go through everything and go through the manuals. So let's have a look at creating packages. So again, as we saw before, we're going to look at the fact that you can do it with the tools built into macOS. We look at Composer. We look at an app called Packages. So when it comes to what we have with macOS, there's two primary binaries we're going to use. productbuild and pkgbuild. So first up, let's look at productbuild. So productbuild, again, another command line tool, and with a lovely detailed man page. There's a few Apple examples of using this tool and a few different things. I'm just going to show you an example of using it. Again, we're not going to read the whole man page. But from here, you basically, you choose the signing identity to use, you choose the component, which you'll generally put in the applications folder as there, and where to output the package. It's quite nice and simple. And now we have pkgbuild. So similar tool, but it starts to look a lot more complicated. So again, the identifiers are signing, what's the root directory of the stuff you want to install, where do you want to install the location, putting in more detail about the version, the min-OS version. So both of which can get you to a point where you can install create packages, and some will just need a different handholding than the other, and some is a bit more expansive on some things than the other one. But one of the nice things about the pkgbuild, it has a no payload flag. You can kind of fudge this with productbuild, but the reason I want to show you this is that sometimes you'll get a package, and when you look at it, like you say here, it doesn't install any files. So with the no payload option in package build, you can actually have a script that instead runs scripts alone. So here's it runs 4 scripts. And this is Jamf auto update. Yeah, well, maybe it's not. Sorry. It's almost like having too many transitions is a problem. Right, once more. No. Okay. Well, okay, skip it again. One more. Cool. This is the important bit anyway. So in here, when you go into a suspicious package, you can see the scripts that are to be installed. What we have here is a post-install script, and that steps through and installs the packages in a certain order. Also, uninstalls stuff in advance, etc. So when you look at some of these tools, you might say there's nothing there. How is it installing things? And this is the type of thing that you've got. So it's careful to watch out for. And but there are some sensible use cases, and also you've then got Adobe stuff where there's 522 install scripts. Which in itself, because all that stuff's within there, and that's every folder, every icon, every plist, blah, blah, blah. So it's a valid way of doing it, but sometimes it will catch you out. If you're trying to look at things one way, and then suddenly where's all the stuff gone? This could be what's happening. So why would you use productbuild over pkgbuild? Well, the no payload flag is in pkgbuild, but like I say, you can kind of make the word productbuild anyway. And the last time I was presenting this in May, I was like, do you know what, just use pkgbuild, don't use productbuild. And every day's a school day. Richard Charlton let me know that. The one reason you might want to use productbuild over pkgbuild is if you're building and install a package you want to install via MDM command. So if these are your pre-stage packages that you need to add, or install application, install enterprise application type commands, you need to use productbuild. And Rich has got a post on that. So there are reasons for them again. Like I say, it's just. Yeah, they've just got lots of different packages. Okay, so look at Composer quick. So before though, I want to go to this. So first thing we do, right? So friends don't let friends create packages from Composer created snapshots. Okay, right? You all with me? Okay, we need to do that. So here we go. Friends don't let friends create packages from Composer created snapshots. Now, come on, right, it's almost like we all went out last night. So we're going to give it one more go, just so you remember this, okay? Right, friends don't let friends create packages from Composer created. Thank you, everybody. I think most of us that have used Composer and Snapshots have probably shot ourselves in the foot at least once, right? So how can you then create packages with Composer if you're not doing Snapshots? And by the way, snapshots I do think are legitimate for troubleshooting things, to try and figure out, you do this thing, where's it writing to and stuff? So definitely have a use case, but do not use those snapshots to create packages. So again, Composer launch, we click the cancel button. And as you saw earlier, we dragged a package to underneath the packages part on the sidebar. Instead, if we drag an item under the sources tab, it will give you the path to the item that you've installed it from, and from there you can start building out your package. So if you've got Chrome in your applications folder, drag that in. You can then set the permissions as you need, go through the scripts, etc., as we saw earlier. So you can quickly build a package as well, but not pick up the snapshot stuff. If we go into the settings, we saw there the pre-install, post-install scripts as we saw before. And then again, this is the metadata, the bundle identifier, the bundle version, get info string, different options you've got here as well. There's a restart action. This restart action isn't generally, Jamf Pro doesn't really follow it, but if you've got something like Monkey and there's a restart action in the package, it will require a restart to be installed. But again, if you're looking at deploying a package that someone's installing directly themselves, you might be that you want them to do a reboot after the package has been installed. If you look into the settings, I was trying to figure out how long this has been around, but essentially Composer by default will check the box to say build flat packages. So you should be good if you're using them, but just double check if you've had Composer for years. And on there below you've got the signing options, all the various types of options that you would expect for different things. And this is where, if you're doing snapshotting for troubleshooting, these items aren't included in the snapshot. They're avoided to try and stop ourselves from shooting ourselves in the foot. You can completely clear that out. You can make changes to your troubleshooting, but if you're going to do that, always remember to click that reset button afterwards, which pulls in the default list. Again, don't use snapshots for packages, but if you're troubleshooting, this can be quite valid as well. But you want to get yourself back to a state as well. And this is kind of the other issue. Your Composer packages, the ones you drag over and the ones you create yourself, the data for the content of them sits on your local Mac. So if you're on a team, you've got the packages, you've got the content, which can be difficult when you're working across the team and sharing things. But nice other thing there that I do like as well, the next one down, default bundle identifier. So if you've got your organization, you might want to put your identifier in. So it'll be com.macmill. Whatever the app is. So earlier on, when we saw the app the app name in Composer, it was just the app, because it'll be prepended with com.macmill.com if you set that in here. Okay, so now we're going to look at packages. So packages allows you to build a couple of different types of packages. And by the way, the developer packages freely admits that he's rubbish at naming things. So it's very difficult. We try to packages and Google packages, and it's interesting. But one of the nice options you've got here is if you are creating packages for people to install and be guided through, you create a distributed package, which you can have welcome messages, custom background images, etc. like that as well. Obviously, if you're deploying via Jamf Pro, Monkey, whatever, MDM, your end users aren't going to see it, so you don't have to. You probably just want a raw package in most circumstances, times. Nothing shocking here. What's the name of the project? What's the direction of the product? And then you start to build out the metadata again. The name, where is the build folder going to be? And this is where it starts to become quite important, because it can be relative to the project file, which later on will hopefully make sense about why it's important. Again, some simple exclusions to start with, the .ds store files that we seem to find everywhere because you forget you've not got rid of it, etc. And no, I'm not going to go through all the options particularly. If you folks think this is interesting, download the app and have a look yourself. But again, the identifier at the top, the version, on success, do nothing. So that's, again, you could on success do a restart if needed, or require shutdown, or require a logout. And if you are supplying it to people directly, it might be that you've got an app that or something you want to install in the user's home. You might not need admin rights for it. This might just be quite a simple click on it, it doesn't install. But if you do need admin rights, then you can set that as well. I'd say there's several different options you've got available to you on that. And when it comes to the payload content, so it gives you the directory structure, you start to drag items in there to build the content. So on here, you see it's the app there, data jar, is the one I pulled over, but you see it's red there because it can't find it. Well, This is what the good thing is about packages as well, is the fact that you've got the project file, and you could have, within the same folder that the project file's in, you could have the application or the content. And this is relative to the file itself. So this makes it quite easy to share with your team. It's a project file that you could put into Subversion, Git, etc. And if you've got like a different build path, you could build the item, put it into a directory local to the file, and then have all this set up. So you just click a button and build it. So it's quite good for that and sharing across your teams. And again, the usual types of options: pre-install, post-install scripts, as we saw before. And you've also got, that's the relative stuff. Get ahead of myself sometimes. And then you've also got comments for your team as well. But I think this is great for using Git to store your info in and make it so that the whole of your team can then create packages using the same kind of settings and files. Like I say. Okay, so when it comes to installing packages, I'm pretty confident that all of us have installed a package, right? So we're not going to go into that too much. Just want to show you a few things. One was the last talk, the slides were all generated by AI prompts. And I don't know what I expected when I said, I don't want to teach you to suck eggs. But I got that. I mean, that's just classic AI, right? But I wasn't really sure what I was going to expect on that at all, so yeah. I was just going to show you a few other things, a few gotchas, etc. So if you're manually installing a package, top right, you can do a padlock there to show if it's signed. And when you click on that, it shows you certificate information, very much like you do websites, etc., and other items that we use. So what you can find is sometimes you might see that your Jamf policies are looping because potentially the developer cert's expired. So you might need the vendor to re-sign it. If you're internally creating packages and all you're doing is deploying them via your management system, I would say, what's the value of signing them then? All you're going to do is potentially cause yourself a problem when that cert expires. But I know that's, you wouldn't say it's best practice, maybe lazy practice, I'm not sure, but yeah, decide what you will with that. There is a flag in installer, which is this is the installer binary that installs all packages of macOS, be they VPP packages or packages that you've created itself. And within that, we have a allow untrusted flag. So you can allow it to install things even though the cert's expired, which might be useful for some troubleshooting, etc. Like, what's this thing doing? It's been failing. Test it out. So you go. So when we look at the installer binary, very simple. Often we have to run it sudo admin, etc. You call it, tell it where the PKG is, tell it where to install. Normally /, which is the root of the disk. I've never really had to change that path, but there is going to be legitimate reasons why. And again, below with that allow untrusted flag. If you're installing items via the GUI, you can press Command L in this view here, and you'll get a log that comes up. Initially, the log just shows errors, but you can also change the toggle there and actually have it show everything. This is really handy when you put your install scripts, because if you echo out on your install scripts, they'll show in these logs. So if you're echoing out to standard error, then they'll show in the error log, or standard out, and the standard error will show under this one. So that's to say you're scripting, echo, you know what's happening. It's quite handy for that. If you are looking for logs, you've got the var log install log. And we've got the var log Jamf log as well. So obviously deploying via Jamf, or the other systems, they should have a log file themselves as well. So there is an issue kind of with packages. You might find that sometimes they install much later than you're expecting. I said the installer binary is kind of a single-threaded process. Basically, you can install one package at a time. So if you're waiting to install, I don't know, the Chrome package or whatever package, a small app, but a VPP is installing Xcode in the background, you can't do that. Any other package installs until Xcode finishes installing, because that process is locked and being used. So just bearing in mind, again, something that might catch you out a little bit, or just to give you an idea of some of the oddities you might expect, or not expect even, because oddities. The other thing as well, if you happen to have an app that has the same name, but maybe the bundle identifiers changed or the signing's changed, you can sometimes end up with this weird situation where you've got the original item at the root of applications, and then you've got this subdirectory, which is the example name, sometimes appended.localized, and then it's got the new app that you've installed there as well. So this is where if you find yourself in this situation, this is where you might use the scripts in a package to delete the old app and then the new one install. It's not often this happens, but it is a thing. I mean, back in the days of 10.7, I think that's when the Notes app first came out in macOS, and Lotus Notes, their Mac client was Notes. So you couldn't you got this weird conflict where you wouldn't be able to install Lotus Notes because it's got the same name as an app that Apple's got in there, which I think, well, that just shows why I've got grey hair. It's a long time ago. But again, it's another thing just to kind of, just the gotcha I want to point out. Okay, so I told you I was going to be long. So let's look at tracking package installs. This is the extra section I added from the talk in May, and this is going to be looking at how Jamf Pro, and what we can do in Jamf Pro on this. So you go into your device record and under inventory, and you can look under package receipts. The first thing you see, they've got two different package receipts in there. Columns. We've got Jamf Pro, which shows 5 packages, and installer.app/SWU, and that also includes the installer binary we just looked at, and how many they've installed. Well, when we looked at the auto-update package earlier, the one with just scripts and actual payload, when we installed it here, it shows Jamf Pro, there's Jamf auto-update on there, but so that's the top package or the root of the package that Jamf Pro installed. But the other ones, all the other items might have different bundle identifiers and installed separately. So, for example, Jamf auto-update here, when you look on the other tab, you'll see all these other packages that are installed. And that's why there's going to be a discrepancy between them. So the Jamf Pro one is the top bundle, top package that you deploy via Jamf Pro, and the others are the sub-packages that the package itself installs. Now, these receipts I've brought on the bundle identifiers, I mentioned them a few times, they're really important. We go back to pkgutil, and we are going to look at, again, the tagline there, query and manipulate macOS installer packages and receipts. So this is where we get into that receipt parts now. And again, scroll down another man page, but the type of command that I would be saying we can do here, first of all, the top one will give you a list of all packages that are installed in your machine, which should marry up with that tab in Jamf Pro with the installer.app/SWU. And if you want to find out details of a specific package, you grab that ID, the receipt, the bundle identifier, and run that second command. And what that should do, so for example, you've got the package ID, that's the bundle identifier we looked for, what version it was that was installed, volume and location. I presume locations change when you do change that thing. Again, I haven't used it, I'm not sure. And then the install time. A few of us must know what that install time is in, right? Epoch, yes, cool. So and this is what obviously suspicious package was reading when it showed that this package was installed on this device at a certain time. Epoch is a timestamp given the seconds that have elapsed since January 1st, 1970. So there's a great epoch converter, you put the time in there, the date stamp in there, and it'll spit out date and time. How many folks have had an iPhone be locked and it's now going to be unlocked in like millions of minutes or years or hours, that type of thing. So the iPhone in that instance is using epoch. So the epoch could be the date where the lock went down, but the iPhone battery died completely. So the iPhone's clock reverts back to 1970, but it's got a date stamp to unlock 40, 50 years later. So that's kind of under the hood. It's just that weird date math they're doing on there as well. But yeah, this is a handy date stamp, timestamp to know. It's used quite widely. It's obviously quite easy to grab in different binary tools as well. And because it's not in a weird format, it's just like a string of numbers, it's quite easy to then store in other things as well. So, but what else can we do with that as well? So we can also export the output into a plist file, which then means we can then go and parse it. I always look at something like that and wonder what choices I've made to get me there. It's it's not fun. But in this example, you get the number 1. Hooray! And again, that goes back to the package info. That's the version we saw way back at the beginning, and in those info plist files. So it's trying to showing how it surfaces, how it goes through, and where you get it from. With Jamf Auto Update, we the main thing we want to do in Jamf all day is not install software not reinstall software. Like if we had a package with different receipt for the same title, we would then end up installing it on top, and why? It's the same bit of software. So we use the package receipts quite a lot. And this is a type of an EA that we would use that would get the version back. So this means that you've got a device, and when Jamf Pro says, hey, install this app, the device says, I've already got it. It's fine. I don't need to re-download it as well. But I think in the world of Jamf Pro admins, we don't maybe use that as much as we should. But there's a really cool way of tracking things across your fleet as well. Especially for stuff that doesn't sit in like applications as well, because it's the package that could be anywhere. Now the final section, when it comes to uninstalling packages. Oh dear. Oh, God, that's a shame. Right, okay. There's a pkgutil flag that you can run that will give you the it's like -- files and the package ID. Like I said, you'll find it in the pkgutil binary, but the important thing really is this. So this tells you what was installed by a package after it's been installed on macOS. So if you want to uninstall something, you've got the makers of an uninstall script there. You know, this is something you can follow and go, okay, well, you know, again, the path on that, you can just make sure that, well, in this instance, just take example.app.app and just delete that. But if you've got those sub-packages in that as well, you can start to build a picture of all these things that are installed. Like I say, generate an uninstall script, possibly even turn it into something, I mean, a great GitHub project for someone. We're making it quite a generic function of like an uninstaller, universal, just give it a package ID and let it delete things. These package receipts as well, you might also have found sometimes you can't install a package because it thinks it's already installed. So you also want to kind of forget those as well. I don't think it's going to work. This is what happens when you're at another conference and you're being asked to change the slides. That's my excuse. There, that works. So again, you just pkgutil, forget, and it's the bundle ID, the package receipt. I say this might be a thing where you realize, why is this thing not installing? It's not on disk, what's going on? Because it's looking for that receipt. And you've got a very simple note on there to tell you that it's forgot that for you. Okay, so that was 131 slides. Apologies about the couple that were missing, but it mainly is stuff that you folks can find in man pages. That GitHub page should have links to various resources as well. And thank you very much for coming here this morning. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ben, for your presentation. That's an interesting effect. Any questions from the audience that we can now answer?
Oh, over there.
Please wait for the mic.
This was all about packages being installed manually, by the users. What about packages being installed by MDM using the install enterprise application command? How does that differ?
Same place. That still uses the installer binary at the back end anyway. Any package on macOS will use that binary. So VPP, IEA, IA, Jamf Pro, because your VP apps are delivered by Apple in a package, which I should have mentioned earlier. But yes, any package will be in there.
Any other questions?
Behind you?
Hey, I'm curious about best practices as far as why would you embed a script for the uninstall versus just writing a script in Jamf and putting that in a policy?
No, you're right. So you can have a policy that first of all does the uninstall and then installs the package. Yeah, it's perfectly correct. You're right. I mean, I'm looking at this from an MSP point of view, and that package you might have to deploy across 30 instances. So in some ways, for us, our workflows, it makes sense it was more enclosed. But you're totally right. Definitely could have just done the uninstall script in Pro. Yeah, it's the same deal. You just got to move it off the disk if you have these conflicts. Or like, forget the receipt if it won't install when the old receipt's there type thing. So yeah, perfectly right. Great call out.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks. I don't think I've had this many questions on a Q&A after the JNUC party before. This is quite impressive.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for the amazing presentation. In several instances, I've tried to create a package using a DMG and Composer, but the package is damaged at the end. What can I do to prevent that?
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning.
So if I create a package from a DMG using Composer, sometimes the resulting PKG is damaged, or whenever I try to deploy it, I get a notification on the remote computer, the package is damaged, cannot be installed, or cannot be opened. What can I do to prevent that?
I would be looking at the logs, because it might be that in the DMG there's a hidden file that the package needs, and it might be erroring because that file doesn't exist. So it might be that it's not corrupt, it might just be that it wants that file locally, and that type of things. But those install log and the jamf.log, jamf.log obviously policy overview, tries to install failed, etc. But that install log should give you a lot more data on what's happened there. There is also a verbose flag with the installer binary, so you could try and do it manually with that and just see, but it might well be the fact that the package itself expects a file in the same directory it's in when you're installing it, and you've taken it out of the DMG, that file's not there. The other thing to be wary of as well is EDR solutions, AV solutions, etc. Possibly trying to get exemptions on your devices that build packages, because they could do all funky things, get involved. Anybody here who's been around long enough might remember AutoCasper MBI, and I was creating netboot images, and it would normally take me about 8 minutes, but when we had this product with on-axis scanning on, it would take 45 minutes. So they can interfere, and potentially you get a weird condition where this process thinks you're done, this one's still ongoing, or it thinks it's, or the other process thinks it's hung, and it carries on. So there might be some oddities around that. But I've definitely seen the DMG thing a few times, and it's bit me a few times as well, because just forget there's a hidden file potentially.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
You said not to create packages from snapshots from a composer, but I don't know if you said why.
Okay,
If I missed
that's
it.
fair enough. I was kind of, well, yeah. So I'm just trying to think of some horror stories. I think over the years I've known someone who deployed a snapshotted Firefox install, and they deployed all of their bookmarks to all the company devices. Luckily, no cookies, but some of those bookmarks should not have been on a work device, so that was interesting. A resume-generated event, that's what it's called, right? I know someone else who there's a file in system configuration that has got data about your Active Directory binding, and they snapshotted an install which had that in it, like a Sophos install. And what happened was every time Sophos installed, that Mac was then able to access AD, but none of the others were. There's a weird binding thing or something they were doing. It was just, and it just went through a loop where only one machine out of like 100, 200 in the labs could actually log into AD at a time because of the corruption that's happening with this file as well. It's just all those type of things. You know, you get the wrong permissions. Well, it's generally the random crap that you shouldn't have in there that you end up bringing through, and then that causing an issue. And why is that thing doing that? What's going on? And especially if you use packages instead, or the command line tools, then it makes it something you can share across your teams as well, versus having like a build machine. I just like showing Composer in that because we know we're all quite fluent in it, so we could see some of the GUI options quite easily. And I was trying to get you folks to connect the dots between certain things. That's why I was using that. I mean, I still use it on occasion. I use it for the examples in here. I just steer clear of the snapshots, or you're going to have a problem. And you could do it for fun and see how badly you can do things. But, you know, I've also had someone as well mess up the authorization database. And the machine would basically boot, but nobody could log in at all. There was nothing, because there's no authorization. So, you know, when you get to things like that, because you've kept that one file in there and it's like 3 or 4 different directories down and you've not expanded the directory tree, you just want to try and avoid it. And, yeah, we don't really want those events, do we? Cool.
No more questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was the first time I ran through it.
Yeah, did you need to rush a little bit?
Was that?
Did you need to rush through it a little bit?
No. My